Alrighty guys, moving right along here in section 11.2, still working on simplifying radical expressions. This section you're going to find is kind of a long one. There's just a lot of little things, and I try to break it down as best I can. The first couple of days here, first lesson or two, we've worked on just the first 2 bullet points in terms of what makes a radical expression and puts it in its simplest form. Again, I think I've compared this to this in the past, but again, think about like a fraction, right? 2 over 4. It's not entirely wrong to write 2 over 4 like that. We know what 2 over 4 means, but usually you'd write 1/2. You reduce it all the way to its simplest form. In math, we're always trying to reduce things to their simplest form. You probably wouldn't write 2x plus 3x in algebra, right? You just write 5x. You simplify things as far as you can. It helps you get to solutions and get to answers in the future, okay? So, same thing with radicals. There's certain rules that we use to simplify them as much as we can. And we worked on the first couple here in the first couple lessons, so no perfect squares under a square root other than 1. No fractions under a square root as well. And now we're going to start working on this third one, okay, which kind of goes along with the second one too in terms of fractions. But something in particular with fractions is you can't have a radical in the denominator of a fraction, okay? And part of the reason why this is just because, think about it, in a fraction, go back up to my fractions up here, right? If you're dividing by a number, okay, it makes sense to divide by a number like 2 or 4 or 8, but if you're dividing by a number that's actually an irrational number, let me even use pi, okay? It's kind of hard to divide by a number that never ends. Does that kind of make sense? It's almost like it's hard to comprehend that. We can divide by other things, like divide by 2.5 even, or any other decimal that stops, or any other rational number. But when you have a irrational in the denominator, okay, it's a tricky kind of thing to deal with. Not that, again, you can't write an answer like this. You might not see them, but the simplest form is when I don't have an irrational number in the denominator, okay, like pi, or like we're going to see here with our radicals, okay? So there's a process called, and there's a specific name for it, and I remember this back from when I was in high school, okay, something called rationalizing the denominator, okay? Whenever you see that there is a square root, okay, an irrational number in the denominator, we need to make it rational. We need to make it a rational number, and we can do that. We can change what a fraction is by multiplying by something, and it'll become a rational number, okay? Go back to what we were working on the last lesson here or so, and kind of bullet point number 2 up there. No fractions under a radicand, right? Well, again, what's a nice thing about radicals, and when they're fractions, is that I can just divide them up and say, oh, square root of 25 over square root of 7, okay, or square root of 25 over 7 is just the square root of 25 over the square root of 7. Okay, and again, the nice thing here is that on top, well, this becomes 5. So now it's just 5 over the square root of 7. And you might think, oh, that's my final answer. And again, you've done everything right, but actually that will be marked wrong, okay, because you have an irrational number in the denominator, okay? Now, what it comes down to, you guys, okay, we've talked about this a little bit with square roots already. Think back to just any other fraction. Again, I had 1/2 up there, right? Well, something you can do with a fraction to change what it is, okay, but not change its value, is by multiplying by some fancy form of 1, right? Take the fraction 1/2. If I want to talk about 1/2, but I want to change its form, like I want to increase it on top and bottom by something, but still make sure it still equals 1/2. Well, I could multiply it by a form of 1, like 3 over 3, okay? What does 3 over 3 equal? That's really just 1. So I'm multiplying this by just a fancy form of 1. But if I multiply the top by 3 and the bottom by 3, I get 3 over 6. Okay, is 3 over 6 the same as 1/2? Yeah, it still is. Okay, I've just changed the form of it a little bit, right? Usually I like the simplest form, but in this case, by multiplying by something by our answer here, we need to do that to get it to its simplest form. And we need to multiply by something so I won't have a square root in the denominator. So what could I possibly multiply by? Okay, well, as you learn this, okay, what you need to multiply by, kind of like we did up there, is a fancy form of 1. And what will get rid of that square root of 7 in the denominator is another square root of 7. So what we do is we multiply by the number square root of 7 over square root of 7 right now. Okay, and again, we can do that, just showing one more time, because square root of 7 times the square root of 7 really just equals 1. It's just a fancy form of 1. I'm not changing what this number actually equals, okay, but I'm just changing what it looks like to get it to what we call simplest form for radicals. So what will happen if I do this, okay? Well, on the bottom, remember what happens when I take the square root of 7 times the square root of 7, just bringing this off to the side. One way I could think of that is 7 times 7 is 49, so it'll be the square root of 49, which is just 7, right? So really, it kind of, again, and now look at what I've got, a rational number in the denominator. I've gotten rid of the square roots. So this is why this works. On the top, sometimes there's not much more than we can do with what I have, okay? 5 times the square root of 7 might just be written as 5 times the square root of 7, and that actually is what we call simplest form for radical, because I don't have an irrational number in the denominator now. I rationalized the denominator, as we call it. Okay, so sometimes it looks a little less simple than maybe what I had over here, but that is what they want. That is what we call simplest form for math. Okay, so going through just a couple more like that. So again, that was all the different why it works out. But now here's me just taking you through a problem, what it could look like for you. Let's say this is your first problem, square root of 16 over 3 today. Okay, well, I'm going to, again, break this apart. Nice thing about square roots is they're pretty versatile. I can break it apart into the square root of 16 over the square root of 3. And the square root of 16 is just 4. So this becomes the square over the square root of 3, which would be great. And if you can punch that in the calculator, you can find an answer for it and everything, but it really is not simplest form. It's kind of a goofy thing to leave it when I have a number divided by a square root. So I can't, especially irrational. So I need to rationalize the denominator. I'm going to take that fraction, and what the magic number to multiply by is a fancy form of 1, which is the square root of 3 over the square root of 3. Because the square root over 3 over the square root of 3 is just 1, really. So it doesn't really change the value of what this is, okay? When I do that, on the bottom, square root of 3 times the square root of 3, again, will really just give me the square root of 9, which is just 3. So again, you'll see that pattern. Square root of 3 times square root of 3 gives you 3. Okay, you can just jump right to that when you want. And on the top, it doesn't really get much simpler. I just take 4 times the square root of 3, and I get exactly that, 4 times the square root of 3. Sometimes you will be able to do a little more reducing at this point in the problem, but yeah, right now, nothing I can reduce there. Okay? All right, again, right now, pause the video and try those next 3 problems. Okay, and I'm just going to walk through a couple of them right now too, but pause it, see if you can figure out what you get to rationalize each of those denominators. Okay, I went ahead and did that next problem, the 9 over x under the square root. And you can see, again, it was kind of similar to the first one I did, just the only difference was that I've got x, which is a variable, but nothing really changed, okay? I still put this under a square root. I still took the square root of the top, square root of 3, 9 was 3, and then I times it by a fancy form of 1, which, even though it's a variable, it doesn't matter, just times it by square root of x over square root of x. And that gave me my final answer over there, okay? Skipping into the next one here now, square root of 25, over the square root of 3x squared. Okay, so I've already broken it apart into each of the square roots, and again, nice enough now, I can say square root of 25 is just 5, and the x squared, I can square root that and just get x. Okay, so let me do a little simplifying here, what I have so far. Just 5 on the top, and on the bottom, I took the square root of x squared and just got the x out front, and then I just have square root of 3 on the bottom, okay? Again, you've done nothing wrong. You've done all the right steps. But really, this is not what we call simplest form for square roots. I got to rationalize the denominator, okay? So I'm going to times top and bottom by a fancy form of 1 that'll get rid of that square root, which in this case is the square root of 3 over the square root of 3. That just equals 1. So again, times something by 1 doesn't change what this would equal if I punched it all in the calculator. It really will be the same thing, but I've just changed its form to get, as they call it, simplest form for this. Okay, good. So on the top, I'm going to get 5 square root of 3 then. Again, not much I can do there to simplify. On the bottom, square root of 3 times square root of 3 will just give me 3, and then I still have that x down there. And there's my final answer, 5 square root of 3 over 3x. Okay, one more walk through with you. Okay, so square root of 75x to the third over 2y squared. Okay, this one I'll be able to not only break them apart, but kind of like we did with that last one, is do a little bit of simplifying even before I get to the part where I need to rationalize the denominator, okay? Let's see, breaking some things apart here. So this one, take a look at that top, square root of 75. I'm going to break that apart by the number itself times the square root of x to the third, Okay, so I got that. And then on the bottom, I'm going to do the same thing too. Square root of 2 times the square root of y squared. Okay, again, I got to break everything apart. See, maybe I can get rid of some of these square roots first before I even have to deal with rationalizing the denominator. Okay, some people will ask, could I just rationalize the denominator right now? Could I multiply both the top and bottom by the square root here, square root of 2y squared? Yep, you totally can. That will also work, and that will then the rational part, that part will be done. Okay, I'm choosing to break some of the things down first that we know how to do, and then go ahead and do that. But either way will work. Okay, square root of 75 breaks into the square root of 25 times the square root of 3, right? And the square root of 25, nice enough, is 5. Okay, so on the top, I'm going to make another fraction over here, and kind of like I've done in the past with some problems as you've seen, I'm going to put some stuff under the square root, and some stuff's going to come out. So like with this number, the 5, I squared the 25 and got 5, so that's out. And then there's a 3 inside still. So now I've taken care of all the number on top. Remember, square root of x to the third, what we end up doing is breaking that into x squared and x. And again, one of these I can take the square root of. This one's just x, so I'll have 1x on the outside and 1x on the inside when I break that one apart. Okay. On the bottom, not much I can do with that square root of 2. Okay, so under the square root, I'm still going to have the 2. Outside, though, I will be able to square root y squared. That will just give me y. So I will have the y out front. Okay. And now, again, if you've gotten this far, you've done everything right. But one more thing we got to do is rationalize the denominator. So I need to multiply this by a fancy form of 1 so that I can get it to simplest form, okay, and get rid of that square root on the denominator. So I'll multiply by square root of 2 over square root of 2 because that's the one on the bottom. That's the one. This is the one down here I need to get rid of. The top doesn't matter how goofy it looks with square roots, but the bottom I got to have rationalized, okay? So when I do that, I'm going to have on the bottom 2y, because square root of 2 times square root of 2 gives me 2, and then the y will still be there. And on the top, it'll look a little messy, but I'll have the 5x still on the outside. And then square root of 2 times square root of 3x will give me square root of 6x. I can put the 2 and the 3 together by multiplying, okay? Let me write it one more time in there, but square root of, as you can maybe see, 6x, okay? And again, that's all I could do. You know, if this 5 was some other even number, like an 8 or something, maybe I could reduce the numbers here. That is possible sometimes, but in this case, I can't do that. So this is as simple as it gets. There now, at least I've rationalized the denominator, okay? Try them out today, guys. Today, I know, again, something new, but I think you can do it. In fact, I know you can do it, okay? If you still need help, let me know, or again, help each other out too, okay? Good luck.